A Plaguelands Media production.
Hey everyone, this is Hugh from Plaguelands Media bringing you another comic book spoiler-filled review today, so cheers. Today I'm going to be reviewing Volume 1 of Redneck. This covers issues 1 to 6. Now, there are a number of things that drew me to this book, but first and foremost is the creator and writer, Donny Cates. I loved God Country. I loved his run on Thor. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. But also, this is small town America, vampires that run a barbecue joint in like somewhere in Texas or wherever, it doesn't really matter. But yeah, the art, as you are going to see, fantastic. The story, the characters, everything about this book was superb. So if you don't want it spoiled and you want to go out and read it for yourself, hey, switch off now, go check out one of our other videos. They're all fucking awesome. But if you want to know what happens in the first 6 issues of Redneck, well, stay tuned for the next episode of...
Read a fucking book. 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 People.
Okay, so this is Redneck. Straight away, you can see that the art is fantastic. We start in Sulphur Springs, where we see someone or something killing a cow. And we meet Bartlett and Perry. Perry has the ability to kind of read minds. They are, as you can tell, vampires. And Bartlett is kind of thinking. He's pretty much our main character. We see the story through his eyes primarily. And he's thinking back to the Civil War, and Perry is asking him questions, and he's like, could you not read my mind? Can you not do that? Then we get 3 boys that want to go out for a night on the town. Their father, JV, tells them not to, but of course they disobey him. JV tells Bartlett to go and make sure they are okay, even though Perry warned Bartlett not to go into town tonight. Bartlett basically questions, they're just kids. Let them go into town, but JV's kind of worried, so Bartlett wanders into town. And at the same time, we get an image of this figure watching him through a window. So he goes into town, he goes into this bar. Everyone in the bar basically tells him to kind of fuck off. And then he sees outside the 3 boys, the brothers, JV's sons. And it looks like they're going to get into trouble with some people. Now, knowing that they are vampires, that they are young, and JV has a rule. Basically, this family of vampires runs a barbecue joint in town. So they feed off the cattle, then use the meat in their barbecue place. But the boys just want to kind of have a little bit of fun. Bartlett wants to stop it, so he basically breaks down the door and goes in there to de-escalate this situation that is rising. At the same time, we have Father Landry. Now, JV's family, the Bowmans, and the Landrys have been mortal enemies, vampires and humans. But Father Landry knows exactly what they are. And he tries to kind of de-escalate the situation. He's goading Bartlett into a fight, but Bartlett doesn't take the bait. And then the next morning, he wakes up on the porch as the sun comes and burns his hand. It wakes him up, and then JV grabs him, and he's like, what the fuck did you do? look at what happened, and one of JV's sons is burning while hanging from a tree. Bartlett doesn't remember what happened. He's like, it wasn't me, I don't know what happened. And JV is like, just get him the fuck down. So Bartlett shoots the rope, and then we have these two people, Phil, I believe. Let me just check that because my eyes aren't what they used to be. Phil and Evil. Yes, this is Phil. This is Evil. They work for JV. Kind of their human contacts. They run the barbecue joint. So they get the body down, they bury it, and they pull the vampire teeth out with a pair of pliers. And JV kind of wants to know what happened. Bartlett swears he didn't do anything. He swears he had no idea. But JV is not kind of having any of it. Perry wants to kind of get involved in this, read Bartlett's mind, but he's not having any of that. So JV tosses him down into the cellar where his two other sons have been confined for what they did the night before. When Phil and Evil go to the barbecue place, it's been burnt to the ground. So they go to the church to confront Father Landry to see if he had anything to do with it. And they find Father Landry with his face an absolute fucking mess, like jaw broken and in a lot of pain. The brothers and Bartlett are still trying to work out what was going on. Phil and Evil come back and they let JV know, listen, this is what happened to Father Landry, but you better be on your guard because there are some people coming. Perry still wants to be a part of this, but JV is kind of protecting her. So the townsfolk, who are all kind of part of Father Landry's church, come and kind of want to know what's going on, want to confront the vampires. They pretty much know what's going on by this point. They shoot JV through the chest, which of course does nothing because he's a vampire. And JV is like, all right, you fucking brought this on yourself. And it is a massacre. Pretty much an absolute massacre. The people are trying to get Father Landry back to a hospital. They're trying to flee with him when JV's sons, the two ones that were still alive, confront them, and they have a plan for Father Landry. Bartlett is told to go upstairs and talk to basically the patriarch of this vampire clan, something that he is very, very unwilling to do. And we have the patriarch of the vampire clan right here. You can see he's kind of this messed up Nosferatu looking thing. He has the ability to look into people's minds, to read their minds, that kind of a thing. The brothers get Father Landry and they decide the best way to torture him is to actually turn him into a vampire, torture him because they know he's not going to die, and then in the morning the sun is going to set him on fire. So that's kind of their plan. That's what they do. The patriarch of the vampire clan, Grandpa, is messing with Bartlett's mind. Bartlett is getting really pissed off. We see after they've turned Father Landry, he starts like vomiting up blood, and then it's a very painful transition and process. Bartlett's had enough of the patriarch, so he flees downstairs. Perry asks him, can I look into your mind and find out what happened that night? And he's very reluctant to do this, but ultimately he lets her. And then we get Bartlett's backstory. Back in Texas, he's being pursued by Texas Rangers. And this is when he meets the Bowman family. JV's wife Meredith, and the sons and whatnot. The Texas Rangers are coming for him. We don't know at this point exactly what he did to incur their wrath, but the Bowmans and the Rangers kind of get into a fight. Perry then jumps ahead, and we find out that Bartlett was wounded. Meredith had him saved, and he basically became a vampire, and then he tracked the Bowmans down to their house, at which point the patriarch is basically treating him like shit because he's not really one of them, and Meredith steps in to stop it. She's very compassionate. She's basically the one that made JV as a vampire clan not eat meat, or not eat human flesh, I should say, but to drain animals and things like that. When the patriarch, the grandfather, disrespects Meredith, JV is like, we are having a talk. So you can tell there's some tension between those two characters. Meredith is ultimately killed by the Landrys because during the Texas Ranger pursuit of Bartlett, one of the Texas Rangers that got killed was a Landry, and so the head of the Landry family is now after the Bowmans, and this is something that has progressed down through the ages that we kind of see, which culminated with Father Landry and the Bowmans, which we saw at the beginning of the comic. And Bartlett ultimately sees that in the vision that Perry brings up, he kind of remembers that JV blamed the grandfather for Meredith's death and went up there and attacked him, like shooting his legs off, and hence is why his face is disfigured and he's in the wheelchair. It's a very painful memory for Bartlett because we get this kind of feeling that Bartlett was in love with Meredith at some point. He suddenly has an epiphany and realizes exactly what happened the night that JV's son was killed. The town itself is on fire. Bartlett rushes down there to get the boys back, but he finds Father Landry, who has been turned into a vampire. JV, who is with Bartlett, comes down and takes him out. He wants to kill Father Landry, but Bartlett stops him. Bartlett basically has a lot of compassion, even though the Landrys and the Bowmans have been at odds this whole time. Bartlett basically realizes that Father Landry had nothing to do with what happened to JV's son. So he basically knocks out Father Landry and gets JV to agree to bring him back to the house, where we discover what truly happened to JV's son and the people in the alley, and it had nothing to do with the Landrys, but everything to do with the patriarch of the family, the grandfather, who wanted to put a stop to this feud once and for all, and he thought the best way of doing that is to actually kill his great-grandson and frame Father Landry for it, which was his plan the whole time. We can see he can turn into this Nosferatu-looking bat motherfucker. JV goes up there to confront the grandfather, punches the shit out of him. is about to kill him when he starts to turn into his kind of bat form. They get into a huge fight. Bartlett comes up and tries to stop it, but at that point, the feds are on their way. Like, this town is out of fucking control. The bat thing comes flying out the window just as the feds start opening fire. The Bowmans are like, I'm not having any of this. And they use a secret tunnel to escape, taking Father Landry with them. As they hear the sounds of the battle up above and the sounds of their house being destroyed, and they have to move on to a new town. To be continued. Okay, that was volume 1 of Redneck. What did I think of this? Well, vampire story, that's a plus. Danny Kurtz, that's a plus. The art, or the cover art, amazing. The art in the book itself, amazing. The story, phenomenal. I would love to see this as a Netflix series or an Amazon Prime series. I think it would be so much fun. This was just a great read. The characters themselves are believable and relatable. Even though they're vampires, you can get an idea, like JV, he's just trying to protect his family. Bartlett didn't ask for any of this and got dragged into it. Perry wants to be taken seriously, even though she just looks like she's a little kid. The three brothers, they are sick of the rules. They're basically teenagers, but not the stupid, sparkly teenage vampires in Twilight. Like, these are actual teenage vampires. They just want a night out on the town. This was such a great find for me. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I cannot wait to read more of this series. It was absolutely phenomenal for any fan of, I'm not going to say horror comics, because I don't particularly think this was a horror comic. It was just a great read. I mean, yeah, sure, it had vampires in it and people died and whatever, and there was a bit of gore, but that's not what the book's about. It's about family. It's about holding grudges like the Landrys and the Bowmans. It's just a phenomenal read, and I cannot recommend this book enough. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, leave a comment, and hit the notification bell, because Plaguelands Media has a lot more stuff coming out. Some Kickstarter projects, which we will be updating you with. Share this video with your friends on Facebook or whatever social media you are attached to, so we can get more likes, we can get more subscribers. With more subscribers comes more videos, and with more videos comes more awesome content. You know how this works. So, only thing left to say is stay safe, have a fantastic rest of your day, but most importantly, have a drink, and read a fucking book, people.